Okay, so we're gonna do something weird today. I guess not weird, but different. So instead of just like first building a deck, we're gonna make a video and talk about like what we consider like our packages for like cards that we like to run for ramp, draw, like I guess interaction. Also, we'll talk about like the cards that you constantly see that we put in the decks on here, and talk about like what kind of decks want to run what, or like the kind of strategies that want to run less of one thing and more of another thing. Like, so we'll just call it like guild
Guys,
guys.
ready for Secret Lair Fortnite? Go home.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Guild guys.
No, if it's
Commander.
the Guild Guides package. Again, nice package there, Tom.
Guild guys. Pack. Yeah, we'll just do packages. Did I spell that right? I think
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Okay.
Do we have to pick one, or
Have to pick what?
like a format, or I guess?
Yeah, because remember it doesn't show things that aren't legal
Right,
in the
right.
book.
And I guess we only
Yeah,
care.
no.
We're worrying about Commander stuff, so.
Okay, so I also want to see if I can make like
I think you can make
categories.
you can make custom categories. So you have to go into with sorting, which I don't know. View and sort. It's the eyeball, or under edit maybe.
Custom.
No. Go back to go back to that and put it back to what it was. So where it says multiple, just go to types. Or I guess don't leave it custom. Leave it in custom. Because
Okay,
we're gonna, and then go into edit on the side, little pencil. Because I'm pretty sure you could. No, never mind. I know you can make custom.
Yeah, I've seen Dom do it.
Maybe you have to
Hold
start
on.
adding
Let's
cards,
just,
and we'll
like,
do it
add
later.
a card. So we'll start with the easiest thing to talk about, which is if you're playing green.
So
And let's say you're playing green. You want to care about your lands. You're playing some mana doublers. You want to cast a lot of creatures. You want a lot of ramp. You definitely want to have the land ramp in those regards, and want to circle a little bit away from just like the signets and things like that don't get their mana doubled by most of the mana doublers in the game. Because a lot of green decks do end up running mana doublers, and if it's not an Exclume Ancient, then
or
most
mana
of the time
reflection.
then most of the time you want to care about like making sure that you have lands. Also, like a lands matter deck definitely wants to play packages like this. Also, I consider it the safest way to ramp and the cheapest way to ramp also. Just because like it's the hardest to interact with land ramp. So like we do really just try to play land ramp as much as possible, just because it really is that good. It's the hardest to interact with. It can't get blown up by Bane of Progress like late game. Like it's just always consistently good. So like we'll start with ramp and growth and see if we can make like categories. So we'll add that, and then can we like
We just put a rainbow color commander. You know what? You know who our commander has to be? Hold on. Who's the worst 5-color commander?
So it's Chromatog, right?
No, Chromat or a Tagatog.
Is it what is it? A Togatog?
Yeah, let's do a Tagatog is our commander.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely the worst 5-color. So how do we edit these?
So I think add a category. You see right above there it says add a category in the little green box.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Create a new category. So it'd be the creature package, or
I'd say, or do you want to call it that, or do you?
no?
Want to
We'll call
like,
it the ramp package.
Interaction, draw.
Yeah.
Keep it that simple. Okay, so ramp. Okay, so it's in like that. So did that not work?
So no, we now have to add it to that. So see the star underneath it. So unstar sorcery and star the ramp. There you go.
Okay, cool. So now, okay, so let's go through this. So we like to use that. We like to use 3 visits.
So
which is a little bit more pricey. But
it's not the worst. So the thing about like 3, I think you slide it in. So then with like 3 visits and Nature's Lore, because I think Nature's Lore is the one that's a little bit more expensive. Actually, no, I don't think so because it just got printed in a commander deck, I think. I get what if. So they enter on tap, which is nice, and they get to search for because it says forest card. Usually, if you're running any type of dual lands, you get to grab them and have them come in tapped. Where most of the other 2 mana ramp stuff, and this also, I guess, we could say the budget ramp because it isn't stuff like exploration and like burgeoning.
Or like fetch lands.
Yeah.
With like a Crucible of Worlds or something, which is the least budget option
Yeah.
of all time. Considering that Crucible of Worlds is like almost $50 again or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So so Farseek's another one I also like.
Yeah.
Farseek is not good in a mono green deck because it can't grab forests.
Yes.
But
so you don't want to play this in monocolored for sure.
No. But I still think if you're running anything other than mono green, I think if you're going mono green, sometimes I think almost going creature ramp might be a little bit better because I think green can optimize off it just maybe potentially a little bit more. But then again, like these are also really good. Kodama's Reach and Cultivate.
Usually we like to fit in some version of both because I don't like getting completely blown out to board wipe. That is inevitably going to happen. So like,
yeah.
And your protection package, if you're a mono green deck, is to just take it and recur. So we usually like to at least have some creature ramp, like usually like Sakura or like Bird's Paradise, like just like the good ones, Sylvala, like the ones that are worth it.
Because Birds gets you anything, and Steve gets you a basic.
So Birds.
You didn't put Kodama's in.
No, I'll get it in a second. Because we were just talking about it. So.
Now, I don't think, like, if you're building a deck, like we have, this is like the ramp package, but I don't think you have to run all of these unless your deck calls for it. So, like, if you're running a pretty low-to-the-ground curve deck, you don't need to run all these. Maybe if you have a few really, really big drops, or you're maybe multiple colors, that I think it's worth running because it could help color fix you and get you all the things that you need.
So, yes. These are just we usually like, like he was saying, if you're a higher curve deck, you maybe want to go over 10, but we usually like to have at least 10 sources of ramp, even at the lightest. Like, even if your curve stops at like 6. Which for most commander games, you usually have a decently high curve, so.
But the more lands you have means the more things you get to play per turn.
Yes. So that's what we like for that. We were also talking about Sylvala. I like Sylvala a lot.
Sometimes the only reason I don't like Sylvala is just because there is potential for an opponent to draw a card.
Yeah, but usually it's worth the downside. And once you like have the biggest creature, it hopefully shouldn't matter too much. And this makes so much mana that it's worth the downside usually. It's just so good. Oh, another one that we've liked a lot recently too is Svella. So this is only like a Gruul card, but being able to pay 3 to make a Manalith, like having constant be able to make mana, and then having a payoff as good as that, like definitely puts this in a really good ramp / like just like value engine type card. Especially in the Gruul decks where like bombs that you hit can just win you the game. Like the creatures are just that good. We made the deck and I actually won the game that I played with it.
Svella almost kind of ends up playing like the
Golos?
No. What's the other one with white that does the top cards too?
Yeah. I forget her name.
The elf. It's the elf lady? It's an elf, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Oh, she's the Naya colored one. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes. So sometimes we like to run like just like if we're doing like budget, if we're doing like budget stuff, like we like to run like Sky Shroud Claim and like also the
Migration
Path.
Just because at worst you could just cycle it to draw a card if you don't need the ramp. Oh, you also have Harrow and Roiling Regrowth.
Yeah, Harrow. Well, this is like if you're really in on lands, especially if you have things that have land ETBs. These are insanely good. So like if you play like a Lotus Cobra or like a Tatiova or like a Rampaging Baloth.
But Harrow also lets them come in untapped, which is really cool. And also that they're both instants, so you could wait to pop those. You don't have to hit them right away.
Also, instant and sorcery matters deck, like copying this and not having to sack an additional land and just getting 4.
Mhm.
And like if you have a Brawl out or like Primal Amulet, you can make it cost less. Like, you know, it's definitely just one of those good cards.
Or if you have a mana doubler out, you actually plus
Yeah.
mana.
So we try to stay away from the 4 mana ramp things unless like we're a ridiculously high curve deck. And then sometimes it's even better to just run more ramp than the higher CMC ramp. But usually you want to run that if like you have something that's like 8 or 9 CMC in your deck. Like that's where like the cards like Gilded Lotus come in, which you know we can get a little bit.
I think. Well, I think if we're talking about, we should talk about artifact ramp separately out of just like spell ramp, because that's the kind of thing that could go in literally everything. This is more like I said, we're talking about the green ramp package.
Yeah. So what else do we like for like?
Honestly, we really don't go too much harder than that because we do throw in a little bit of artifacts to go with it. There is a rampant growth for snowlands, but that also just means that you also have to be playing a snow deck, which can get a little blah. Myriad Landscape is another one that we run.
Should we put that under like colorless?
But that might again follow other colors. That's like if you play that, if your deck doesn't have like these kind of spells or these kind of things.
Yes.
But other than that, like I don't think we really go too much farther than those.
Yeah, no. This is like a recurring theme of what we play, like 100%.
Because like anytime I get to go like turn 2 or even turn 3 into a ramp spell, it feels like it. So that it's a lot different than playing turn 1 Sol Ring because that explodes you so much faster. But if you played like 2 ramp spells back to back and no one else has, you're basically up a Sol Ring against them. And because
usually the most mana means you're gonna win.
And when you do it this way, you also get focus less because you see a player who goes like, I'm going to spend 2 mana to play Rampant Growth. It seems fair as compared to me going, okay, I'm going to turn 1 or turn 2 play Sol Ring. Now it's like, oh, look at this guy, he's so far ahead. Herald of Ishtrak is broken ramp. You go uplands while everyone else goes down. You can't beat it, and it's only a million mana.
Yeah. Well, it's green, so they can pay for a million mana. Okay, so do we want to get into some of the colorless stuff?
Sure. We're on the theme of ramp, so I mean.
So we were just talking about Sol Ring. So like, obviously this is just like an auto include and everything. You don't really got to talk about it. So I guess we'll just keep this as an artifact category and leave it like that.
So Mind Stone isn't, if you're not running like a color that matters. I like Mind Stone as a way to like help draw cards because decks that can't super draw cards, having that Mind Stone's not bad.
I would say the 2 big ones though are the Arcane Signet and the. I would say the 3 big ones that we run in basically everything are Arcane Signet,
Felwar
and
Stone,
Thought Vessel.
Thought Vessel. Yeah.
Yeah, we play Thought Vessel on a lot because we like to play engines. I'll put the Felwar Stone in there for now, but
see one thing. So the thing is, the funny thing about how Felwar Stone works is the less colors you are, it still doesn't really hurt you all that much because say if you're only 1 color, it just basically taps for colorless for you, which it's basically a Mind Stone or a Thought Vessel. If you're like 3 or 4 colors, chances are it's going to give you the colors that you need. I just like low-cost mana rocks because you get them out quickly as compared to spending like 4 or 5 mana to get double mana or something that taps for 2 mana.
So
like Weathered Powers. Oh. Well, Weathered Wayfarer is the creature.
No, not Wayfarer. What's the?
You're calling it Worn Power Stone. Oh, yeah, Wayfarer's Bauble. That's another.
So. How the fuck do you spell it?
It's F-A-Y. There you go. F-A-Y.
So this is another ramp one that you can play in a couple things. I play this in Violence because. Right? Yes, I play this in Violence because I'm a Cabal Coffers deck, and you want as many lands as possible, and Black isn't really good at putting lands into play, so that like kind of leads us into doing the Myriad Landscape also. So like Myriad Landscape kind of falls. Actually, I kind of want to name this colorless, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's in there now.
So like Myriad Landscape is another one that you see us play a lot, just because it's like a really good land. Like it can either tap, even though it enters tapped, it can either tap for colorless, or you can like ramp for 2 lands, so it does have to get the same color. But like I said in Vilas, like I'm playing swamps anyway, so I play both of these just because I want to be able to get as much as possible. So another thing that falls into that, and then I'll say why it's like important in a second. So Burnished Heart, and then Solemn also. So
The sad
Solemn.
robot.
Yeah, the sad robot. So the reason why I like these, like I was explaining, like decks like that use Cabal Coffers or want a lot of lands that aren't green, need to play these like colorless cards that are just like slightly worse than what you could play if you were just playing green. But like, you know, sometimes the decks just need lands, and like these are what you have to play. You know, if you're a lands deck, like there's some weird blue decks that they printed recently that are involving lands. Like there was that weird vehicle that was on the backside of like a thing that said like whenever a land enters, it gets a counter, and like
Oh
you get
yeah,
to draw cards and it returns to the field.
it's the
Like
god
yeah,
of the
so
sea. No, it's
yeah,
the god of the. I don't know. It's one of like the demigods, I think. Or,
yes, it's half vehicle, half god. So like it's weirdly like a blue landfall strategy. So like same thing with there's like some older blue decks that involve lands also, but in decks that want lands but you know have trouble getting them, like these are the ones you got to use. There isn't really better ones. Like there's some bad ones that get printed in the commander decks, but I don't really like to play those. These are the ones I like to play pretty much.
there sometimes if you're like you really need to ramp in like a color that you really can't ramp with, will sometimes make the argument to try and stretch for either Worn Powerstone or Everflowing Chalice. Everflowing Chalice is just a worse Mind Stone. At worst, it's a 2-mana makes 1 colorless. Or
I like Everflowing Chalice.
Or if it's late game and you have a lot of extra mana with nothing to do with it, you could end up making it something else. Worn Powerstone is also one of those where it's just like it's a bad Soul Ring. It's a 3-drop, but it does make 2 mana.
So the thing I want to talk about with Worn Powerstone, this doesn't apply with Chalice because Chalice is just a 2-mana mana rock. So the thing about Worn Powerstone is I think that this lands in the budget category because we just have so many good 2-mana mana rocks for every color now, or like all these just good early game ramp for most colors, that like we've been cutting this out of so many things and either just playing Hedron Archive just because we want the draw and it enters untapped, or like just cutting the 4 and 3 mana ramp spells completely. Like the amount of times that we've cut this card out of our decks in recent times, like just because it's not really as important anymore. Like I'd rather just run Mind Stone a lot of the time. It depends on the commander really, because like if you're a 5-color deck and you just need the colors, like sometimes we'll keep them in. Like you're not going to play Ways, Pharaoh's Bauble or Worn Powerstone over like if you're playing a 5-color deck, even 4, like debatable in 3. So like for 2 to 1 though, and more budget, I like Worn Powerstone. I like Hedron Archive. That we were talking about. And also, if you can abuse artifacts, like Academy Ruins is one of the reasons why we like playing Commander Sphere and Mind Stone and Hedron Archive, because if you're in blue and you can sack them and then recur them with Academy Ruins, it's basically just getting the free cantrip.
Which the cool thing is you could sack Mind Stone, and while it's on the stack, put it on top to basically draw it in the card underneath it. Also, a new one that I think we should try messing around with potentially a little bit more is Liquid Metal Torque.
Liquid Metal Torque.
Or no, sorry, no, Liquid Metal Torque. It's not liquid, it's liquid metal, but Liquid Metal as one word. It's Liquuim. I see it right under coding. Liquid Metal Torque. Yep. So it's a 2-mana colorless artifact, but you could also make something an artifact in addition to those other types.
Whoa. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like there could be some really funny interactions where someone's going to like Vandal Blast, and you're like, cool, I'm going to turn my opponent's creature into an artifact and pop it. It just has some other utilities besides just being a 2-mana mana rock. And at worst, it's just a 2-mana mana rock, which having that, it's like, I don't think it's the worst thing.
So another one that we don't really play, but like
Coalition Relic.
One. Yeah,
you know, because it's not budget.
Yeah,
oh, it is budget now. Oh, the Time Spiral reprint. Right, because it was
yeah.
randomly almost $5-6 for that for no reason.
Because
no, it's good. It is good.
Yeah, because either it's just a 3-mana mana rock, or you put a charge counter on it and then get extra. Like it's so good. So we have been slowly gravitating away from 3 mana rocks, so I'm not gonna have us put all of them, but we're gonna just say like Fire Diamond is for the cycle of the diamonds, that because we like these.
Oh yeah, I think the
You
diamonds
see us
are
play
fine.
these a lot.
Yeah, if you're in monocolor and maybe 2-color, you could argue running them.
So now talking about the medallions. So this is a problem, because the reason why you basically never see us play with these is because you look at the price.
So I don't consider those ramp. I consider reduction is different than ramp.
I consider it half ramp. I would never like use it in a slot as ramp. Like when we're counting ramp, it's like half ramp. It's not amazing ramp. And most of the time it ends up doing more than the ramp does, but sometimes you just need the actual mana.
So yeah,
This is more like a combo piece, or just like a setup card like a Baral. Cuz I don't consider Baral ramp.
no,
really.
neither do I.
So like I know Brawl does more, and like even if you took away the reduction, so like I don't consider cards like that ramp. I consider that just like value, or just like a reduction, like just basically the deck, like a piece that just works well with the deck. And the medallions are just so good, because if you think of it, like this is why I Vugan got banned in Modern, because the constant reduction of something over a course an amount of turns is broken. So in Modern, Eldrazi's costing 2 less for every Eldrazi that you cast was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, this in a couple turns is going to do more work than maybe like a diamond or like a Felwar Stone, because if you cast 2 spells on your turn, it's already generated 2 value. But I mean, you have to have colorless in the cost.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. Is if you have a lot of you have a lot of colors and a lot of mana symbols, now it's arguably becomes worse than just having that extra land to actually cover the actual costs. So that's why like they're very like, I think I wouldn't say fair, but they're probably balanced well. It's just they're so expensive because they're just so good. Because the thing is, because it's just spells, not a specific type of card, you get to just run them. And because they sit in the artifact spot, unless there's like artifact removal, it's staying in play.
No, I agree. So that falls into this category that we were talking about with like Goblin Archaeomancer, like, or
no, it's
Archaeologist.
No, not Archaeologist. It's a Goblin. It's Goblin Anarchomancer right up at the top.
Yeah, it's Anarchomancer. So this guy is also falls into that category of he's basically like a so there's creatures that do the effect also. We're not going to go through them all. But so this is kind of like the Barals and things like that just make stuff cost less. So I like these also. We have been playing him in the decks that, the Gruul decks recently, because we really like this card.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it doesn't do both, right? Because it's not like if it's red and green, you get both.
Yeah, it
right?
says red or green costs 1 less to cast.
Yeah. Still really good. It's a 2 mana 2/2 at worst for all those Goblin players out there. So it's not the worst card.
And the thing is with creatures are probably one of the easiest to interact with things in the game.
Yes.
So it becomes a lot less scary or threatening than like a medallion.
Yes, and then the order of operations of things that can be interacted in Commander, like from hardest to easiest, is creatures are the easiest to interact with for sure. Then probably artifacts, enchantments, lands. Like I think lands are like the lowest of the totem pole for sure. Not counting like Planeswalkers just kind of fall into like with actually Planeswalkers would probably be like right next to creatures because you can just swing at them.
Yeah, that's how you interact with me. So Tom, I've had to recently I've found like 2 or 3 different people playing Field of Ruin in their commander decks, and I'm like, take it out.
I don't like it.
Take it out. So that's a good ramp card for your opponents.
Yeah, it gives them all value. Like I don't even like Ghost Quarter. I don't like Strip Mine or Wasteland anymore. I'd rather just play the interaction that the deck can play. Like, I would rather play a Meteor Golem in a bad deck and, like, not be able to pop a land. Or, like, what was that old artifact we used to play?
Oh, Spine of Ish.
Well, no, Unstable. No, the
Unstable Obelisk. Yeah. It's 7 mana pop.
Do we still put this in budget decks?
Yeah.
This has definitely landed in some budget decks still.
It's good in a deck that doesn't have a way to deal with certain permanents. So like if you're a colorless deck, like we've gotten a few more things as time's gone on, but just removal so limited in like a colorless strategy
Mhm.
that just having
Like
something
the
that
learn
pops at you.
learn added a lot actually. Like
Yeah.
gave us a lot of colorless removal spells randomly. But yeah, I used to play this in a lot of decks. Like I was just a huge fan of this card, especially in Violets where it was black. But black's just got some randomly good interaction, which we'll talk about later. So this kind of falls into interaction and also ramp, but we're gonna keep it in the artifact ramp for now.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, okay.
So
Anything else we want to talk about in colorless?
I don't think so, because anything after
Oh,
outside of this,
hold on. There's also the signets. So
well,
like
we have a signet. We have arcane signet. I guess it's not the same thing.
These are the 2-color ones, you know, that are just slightly worse than arcane, and then there's also the talismans. You know, so
Right.
some of these are cheap, some of these aren't. These are probably actually the best ramp that you can use
For like
these
2-color
are the ones
decks.
that CDH uses is the talismans, and then like light on the signets if they ran out of talismans to play.
Because the thing is with signets is if you can't leave them open for mana, you have to use them right away, and that means it's hitting 2 colors right off the bat, and you have to pump a mana into it.
Right. For CDH or high-powered commander, you want to have the colorless immediately, especially like I'm realizing with my new deck, like going like, okay, like turn 1 mana vault into talisman into playing a colored thing like immediately, or like, you know, or even just playing more colorless mana rocks. Like, it depends on the skill level. Like, this in a signet is going to do the same thing if you're in a slower format. Like, I still don't play all talismans in my decks. I play signets right now. I have not transferred over. But I think that pretty much covers... Oh, did we do Gilded Lotus?
No, but Gilded Lotus, I think, goes in such a few amount of decks.
That's the thing with that we said. This is the same thing for if you're like want to play these 4 mana, like you want to ramp on turn 4 and 5 to play like the 8-9 mana stuff. So I actually play Gilded Lotus in another thing I want to talk about also, sorry, Kiora's Follower, things like this. So I do actually consider this ramp. So because I was just gonna talk about how I play Gilded Lotus and Rubina, because
well, maybe don't put it in the artifacts and put it in actual like ramp.
Oh, yes, Kiora's Follower. So, and same thing, I guess that this, that would go over there. It's like technical ramp, not actual ramp. So, basically, getting to untap another permanent, I actually consider this ramp. Because unless you don't have lands, and sometimes you have the gas play of like, oh, I got a Gilded Lotus, or like, this Hedron Archive, and I'm making 4, or I got a bounce land, which a lot of people like to play, even though I hate them. You know, it taps for 2. Now I got 4 mana. What I'm using it for currently is Enchantress, where I enchant my land and like give them like extra mana, and it's really ridiculously good in there. And I just put Sanctum Weaver in there recently, so Sanctum Weaver has been really good. And then you get to untap it, make 1 million mana equal to art enchantments. So okay, so that's another thing. Like untapping is a good thing with that. Okay, so is there any other kind of ramp we want to talk about?
I don't know if we want to count like stuff like Cabal Coffers and Nykthos, because those are all very like really powerful, but
Nykthos.
But Nykthos
that I actually see, you know.
But Nykthos isn't really budget anymore. Oh my god, it's getting so expensive.
Also, it doesn't matter about budget because we're talking about the medallions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, what's the Nyx?
Oh, Nyx Lotus.
Yeah, Nyx Lotus. Yeah.
So, no, Nyx Lotus and like Nykthos are amazing if you get to actually play them and use them. I've had some random instances where they've been bad because my board is end up getting dealt with, so they ended up not actually tapping for.
Yeah.
Well, I actually didn't have enough to pump into Nykthos to make it valuable, and Nyx Lotus ended up just tapping for like 2. Until you eventually get more things in play, and then they go bonkers.
Yeah, this is one of those like snowball cards where I do play these in these decks that like just tend to snowball, and then you just win with all the mana. Especially in my mono black deck, like, man, does this like just go? Like this just goes. You know. I do also. I think one more thing I want to talk about is like I guess that new druid is really cool.
Oh,
The
the
druid. What is
I
it?
still need to, I still need to get one of those. I don't
What is
remember
it
what it's
called?
called. Actually, I don't remember what it's called.
Druid. It's something. I gotta look it up.
It's for each creature you control.
Yeah, it's
Circle of Dreams Druid.
So actually, another thing that gets a lot of play, but I want to talk about if I consider this ramp or not. So, Growing Rights falls into this category also. So I don't consider this ramp. I don't consider this ramp.
It's kind of like I don't consider in a technical side. I guess you could. It does generate mana, but that's also like saying that like it needs a lot of setup, and by the time it does flip, and it makes mana,
it's bad ramp. It's what I could put in the medallions of half ramp, where it gets there sometimes, but at least it has value. Now this, which is worded, the exact same way, I consider this ramp because this at worst is a 3-mana creature tapping for 1. There's no like downside. You don't need to set anything up. This is working immediately. Like this is definitely ramp, an expensive ramp apparently.
Well, have you read what it does? Remember we talked about it. Like I remember reading this. Like Tom, this is kind of silly.
Yes. So then 2 other big ramp sources that I want to talk about are Burial Druid. So these are just the other ones that do it. Burial Druid and what's the... Oh, no, not Burial Druid.
No, I think Bloom Tender.
Bloom Tender, that's what... Bloom Tender, and then what's the 3-mana thing that does it?
Oh, it's the green-white one, right?
I should probably have the creatures with the creatures. Hold on. Hold on. Let me do this really quick. So,
because I think
we should do with the creatures. Yeah, and then have the ramp with the creatures move. So that's technically creature ramp. That's creature ramp. That's creature ramp. That's creature ramp. That is. And then what is the thing called? The tree?
Oh, right. That thing.
I forget what it's called.
Same, because I don't really play too much green and white. I have to go look them up real quick.
Yeah, but we played in the 5-color decks. Bloom Tender card.
God, it's that stupid tree thing. I can't think of its name at all.
Cards like...
Oh, a Fey-Burrow Elder.
That's what it is. Yes. I like this thing also. Fey-Burrow Elder. Okay, oh, and then there's one mana rock that we need to talk about also. Chromatic Lantern. The boy. Actually, Chromatic Lantern and Chromatic Orrery. This is literally just for if you're playing more than 3 colors, you want to play these. They are just like almost like necessary, pretty much. Like we have played Dryad in 5-color decks just to make the lands.
So I guess we've gone outside of going packages and just talking about like good stuff or like artifact ramps and potential less. Because I originally were like, okay, here's like this package or this package, but we kind of evolved it a bit into like what you can play as your good options. But yeah,
which is a little easier, to talk about.
Yeah, true, because there's so many like different ways to do like a ramp package and like a semi-creature, semi-ramp, semi-creature, semi-artifact, semi-artifact,
Yes.
Semi-ramp.
It's better to just talk about the cards we like to play and why. So you have seen us play these in all of our 5-color decks, including Svella and Selvala. Unless it was budget, and then we because we wouldn't play these at all. But it's just because they're just that good and they help that much. Like having any color is just helpful. Like the land fixing is super important. And at worst, these are just mana rocks. And Chromatic Orrery takes it a step even further. Like if you're playing Kenrith, you get to use his ability as though it was any color also. This just lets you spend mana as though it were any color. So that's kind of ridiculous. It's very, 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 very strong. So I'm gonna make a land category. I'm just gonna make a land thing too. We're just gonna put the...
Well, then if we are going for some land stuff, we could also was it the Blighted
Ancient
Woodland?
Tomb? Oh, and Blighted Woodland, yes. I was gonna say Ancient Tomb. For those people who don't play with budget, which I do actually see quite a bit of people play with Ancient Tomb. Oh, and for people who don't play budget, also we got the Mana Crypt. You know, I'll just get through these really quick.